Hey guys, how is everybody doing? Welcome back to Sunday Smile with Steph. So I'm super excited because today I have another wonderful guest with me. I'm super honored. I'm super hyped about it. She is she's a power woman. Like I'm lucky enough that she walked into my life thanks to Sean. So Sean, thank you for that. I love, she has an amazing big heart, and similar to Sean, she just wants to make the world a better place. The wisdom that she shares, with me and everybody else on our daily morning calls are like always inspiring. There's always something that we can take from it. And I'm just looking forward, to see where she's going to go in her life, to see her growth. And, I just love building, friendships, even though we live completely across the wall from each other, literally. So, Rhonda, I'm super excited that you're here. Thank you so much for taking your time. I love it.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be on here, girl. So exciting.
Awesome. So, for you guys, don't wonder if I look down sometimes because I have questions written down and I want to make sure I bring them over the right way. So, for those that watched the last episode with Sean, you already know I'm going to go over, a few questions. So, but before I want to start off, I want to ask Rhonda something. So, is there something, today that you feel like has been a challenge so far? Just today.
A challenge?
Mhm.
Okay, so is this personal?
Whatever you want to say, just something that, today that you feel like was a little bit challenging to you. Where it is.
That's a really good question. I struggle, and this will be crazy. I struggle a lot with continuing to walk in forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So you might ask, what does that mean? I have chosen to remain in joy and to remain in happiness. And I don't know, it can be as easy as somebody looking at me sideways. It could pull me out of that joy if I don't walk in continued forgiveness. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that's the struggle that comes to mind the most right now for me. I've had some conversations this morning, and there's a couple times where if I didn't remain in forgiveness, I could have gotten offended. Mm. And it's not so much of a struggle anymore as hard as it was, but it's still a struggle because it's a conscious effort to continue to walk into forgiveness and to forgive anybody and everybody around me. Does that make sense?
It does. And the reason why I'm asking it, it's actually like none of the official questions, but I love asking that in the beginning because my goal is to show people that all of us are human beings. Like all of us have, things that we go through that we struggle with, but those things, are what, molds us into the person we're supposed to become. So I just love, sharing, like have people see that all of us have things that we struggle with. Let it be little things, let it be big things, so I just, thank you for sharing that. I definitely appreciate that. So the fun part now starts with the actual questions. And what I love about it is you have no idea what questions come, right?
I've actually got pen and paper. So if you write one down, I forget it, I can look down and go, what?
I love it. All right. So first question, for everybody that's watching, the same as last time, I'm going to break it down into two. So part A, what is the best advice you've received so far that served you well?
The best advice. God, there's been a lot of good advice. Mostly because I have been mentoring with Sean for a year now. And the man is full of wisdom and advice. But the one thing that trumps that mentoring is my spiritual walk. And some of the best advice, one of my favorite sayings, and it's a scripture too, is life and death are in the power of the tongue. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't just mean what I speak to you or over anybody else, but what I speak to myself. So that to me is the best advice, because everything stems from if I'm alive or if I'm dead.
I love that. And it kind of reminds me of the book, of two books actually, but one of the books that it reminds me of is The Four Agreements, because I remember reading about that in there. That a lot of times that, the things that someone else says to us has more to do with them than with us ourselves, and how important it is to also but talk like how we talk to ourselves, because we are the people we talk the most to. Not,
and
ironically, but in our head.
Yeah, ironically, this interview fell at a really interesting time, if you don't mind me telling you right quick.
Go ahead. I'd love to hear.
So there, at my church, there's a large group of us that we're doing a fast. I don't know if you're familiar what that means, but you fast from something, either social media or food or whatever. And they're all doing a particular fast. And and so I did some prayer meditation on what to fast from. And what my answer was, what downloaded to me was, I'm going to fast from anything that God, if it's something God says I am, then I can partake. But if it's something he says I'm not, or if it's contradictory to what he has told me I am to do, I can't partake in it. Mm-hmm. And it's for 21 days, because my February is going to be even stronger than my January, because I'm going to concentrate only on who he says I am and what I'm supposed to do there. So it's interesting that you're asking these questions now, and that's my best advice, because I can't partake in anything else other than all the positive and all the encouraging things are the only things I can say to myself.
I love that.
It goes along. It goes along with this, and it's been really interesting, Steph, because there's been times where stuff has crept into my mind in the last couple of days, and I'm like, oh, but I haven't done. Oh, wait a second, I can't say that to myself right now. So it's kind of funny, because I'm having to hold myself accountable for it, and it's changing my whole outlook because of what I say to myself.
And I know how challenging it is to catch yourself.
Yes. Or how easy it is. Well, it's so easy to speak so poorly about yourself.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, why don't I have better results? Well, because frankly, my dear, you're speaking bad to yourself, and you got to quit. And I'm like, oh, Lee. So life and death in the power of the tongue, that's huge to me right now. That is my best advice right now. And I probably say that to more people that probably a lot of people don't want to hear it, but that's okay. They need to hear it sometimes. A little injected value.
Yeah, that's true. And the thing is, we had that actually on a call not too long ago, and it reminded me, because I heard it before, was that we don't want anybody else to talk bad about us. So why do we talk bad about ourselves?
Right.
So I think that all goes into that direction. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yay. And I'm glad I'm able to add to that positivity.
Oh, you are. It's so interesting, the timing. So it's good.
I love it. All right. So now part B of question number 1. What's an advice you received that turned out to be horrible? Like, it seemed to be amazing at the time and you acted on it, but later on it just came out like, wow, this was horrible. Like, I just, want you to, take your time to think about it, because I know it's a tough question. But yeah, like going through it, and I know like we have those bad advice, but at the end, that's what makes us, that's what we learn from, especially as entrepreneurs. So yeah, what's an advice that you thought was good ended up being horrible?
Okay, so walk with me on this.
Okay.
And this is probably not what you're used to getting, or it might be, I don't know. The worst, or the advice that turned out to be horrible, not the worst, but the advice that turned out to be horrible, was probably the phrase, just follow your heart. And a lot of people are going to go, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
I'm curious about that one now.
And remember who you're talking to here. My spirituality is my foundation for everything. It's my backbone.
Yeah.
it's what I can compare anything to and go, no, that doesn't line me up with what I'm looking at. It's my true north. Mm-hmm. And there's scriptures in the Bible that will tell you your heart is deceitful and no one can understand it. Not one person can understand it or control it. Mm-hmm. It's like the mouth. And so to follow your heart, you think about that. I have a past that a lot of people don't even know about, that I followed my heart and I ended up in a marriage that was terrible. It was abusive and horrible and it was the wrong guy. Mm. But I followed my heart. Oh, she followed her heart. And it got me messed over pretty good. And anytime I hear someone say, just follow your heart, it makes me cringe because the heart's full of emotions. Oh. And that's kind of the soul. And if you think we're made up of flesh, body, soul, and spirit, your soul is kind of like the 2 or 3 year old child. It just wants what it wants, when it wants it, how it wants it, and run out. And it just throws a little fit.
Give it to me.
That's where, yes, and that's where your heart sits. Mm. And if you follow that, it's not always wise. So knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is wisdom. Yeah. The heart doesn't always function in that realm. The heart will function kind of in that soul area where it just wants what it wants. So if you follow your heart, it might not be lined up with your true north, or it might not be lined up with your true destination. And then you're going to be off on a tangent and you're going to end up like I did, which is in this horrible other world. It feels like a whole nother world away, whole other world where you end up going, what did I do? And then you hear someone go, oh, just follow your heart. I'm like, no, girl, don't be following your heart because it's going to mess you up. And it messed me up. So to me, I know what people mean by it. And I know what they are trying to communicate, but words are powerful. Mm. And what you say speaks so deeply into someone that I literally followed my heart and it messed me up. Okay. So to me, that is a phrase, when I hear people say it, I kind of go, I try not to let my face show it, but my face, I'm terrible with facial expression.
Like her and I, we would be horrible poker players.
Yeah, terrible.
Because we wear our emotions and thoughts on our face.
Yeah, I oftentimes, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to. I oftentimes tell people I have the stinky fart face, like I just smelled a stinky fart. I'm like, no. So when people say things like follow your heart, I kind of am like, don't do it. It happens. I'm like, don't say it like that. So, long answer to part B. I don't like to follow your heart.
I think that's interesting though, because I've never heard anybody say that, and I'm a person that I'm an emotional person, big heart, always, I do, like, as you said, like, I do say, like, I follow my heart. A lot of times, of course, like, it's a fight between, heart and brain. And you know how Sean always says, fire your brain, hire your heart. And I remember when I first heard him say that, I was like, wow, I love that. So I find it.
Well, that's different.
Yeah. Okay.
So the reason that's different is your heart is your feelings. It's all the feels. Mm-hmm. So hiring your heart, that's a fabulous thing because you're going to feel. So I function in my heart a lot. I can go into a room and I can feel the feelings in the room. I can talk to somebody and I can feel it's like what Sean says before, who you are speaks louder than what you say. That's because he's functioning from his heart.
Yeah.
You can function from your heart. You can fire your head and you can get out of the analytical and the systematic thinking and it's got to make sense and the rational, and you can go into the heart and you'll be in the feels. But I'm not going to let it tell me what to do, because although emotions feel real, they're not always true.
Not always.
You cut me off in traffic and I get hacked off. It really, you really. So that's where the heart gets a little devious at times and you're like, hang on, that wasn't, it's not that bad. So yes, fire your head and hire your heart. Tom Chenault is who coined that phrase. But you don't have to obey what it tells you to is your next step.
Mm.
Do you see the difference? Did I make that clear?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I get
Okay.
what you mean. Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. Thank you. I'm pretty sure like those that are watching, they're all gonna be like, huh.
No, they're probably going to go, that girl from Texas has a crazy accent. She's a little weird. I don't know about this.
I love your accent. No, but you know what it reminds me of what Sean always says? Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of, because as I said, like I've never, heard it that way. And, thank you for, putting that in, even though it comes from, a place of like being a horrible advice for you. I think the way you, pass it on, like it's valuable.
Good.
But at the same time, you can take something, that has a bad taste for you, but you can turn it into something good because you can pass on the value and the lessons you've learned from it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my key things I always tell myself is I want to be able to learn from anybody.
Yeah.
So you might have something I need to learn that I need to apply, and you might have something that I need to learn that not to ever do. But either way, it's valuable. So some people listen. Yeah, some people listening to this, it might be something that they can take and go, well, I'll never do that. Or it could be something they can take and apply in a positive way. So, it's very personal questions that you're asking. So I'm just giving you my raw answers, girl.
I love that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why my goal is to, not tell like the questions before, because I want them to come like from the heart.
Because I asked. I asked you, I was like, what you gonna be asking me?
She did. But I didn't say it because I want them to be, like, as you said, I want them to be raw, and I want them to come from the heart, because, a lot of times when we have the time, we sit there and think about it. We might think about that one that really is the worst. Where it's like, no, I'm not going to talk about it. Let me talk about something else, to cover that up, so, yeah. So I love that. So what I want to do is I actually want to cut this segment short here. We're gonna, the rest of the interview, we actually gonna bring you a little bit later on, guys. But I want to ask Ronda one last thing is, what do you think is the biggest thing that you want people to take away from this first part that we did?
The biggest thing to take away from the first part. I think that you have the permission to have whatever answers you need to have. That there's no set answers, that it's so individualized to the point that just like our fingerprints are totally different and no one has another fingerprint like mine, your answers can be your own. There are no perfect answers. And there are no wrong answers when someone asks you, like Stephanie's asked me my best advice and the advice that turned out horrible. Any of it's possible for you. And it could be totally the opposite, direct opposite of mine. It could be the antithesis of mine, and it's still the right answer for you.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my biggest takeaway. Just be you and answer however you need to answer. Does that make sense? It sounds kind of crazy coming out of my mouth, but
no, well, to me it does, because it also, like, again, reminds me of who said that? I think I heard it from Kevin Trudeau in the audio. You think your wish is your command. He said that, I forgot the exact quote, but it was basically about that it's not a fact, it's like it's your truth. Just because it's your truth doesn't mean it's a fact for everybody else. It's your truth.
Yeah. And
that kind of reminded me of that. So yeah, that was random, but yeah, I don't know, it reminded me of that. Like, to just live in your own truth.
Yeah. That's good.
I love it. Thank you. That was the first time, guys. We will see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye.